Hi everybody, this is Rosie Estrada, and this is my final assignment for our educational leadership class. This is the race, class, access, gender, and equity assignment, and I decided to do my final assignment with a focus on gender and the gender gaps in the classrooms. So these are the two articles that I chose for my final presentation. The first one is called Gender Gap, and this article really talks about the learning differences between boys and girls, and it has high school dropout rates and graduation percentages between boys and girls, and it mentions how the gender gaps, the learning gaps, are increasing as the students are getting older. And the second article that I chose is called The Y Chromosome, How a Teacher's Gender Affects Boys and Girls. And it also talks about the learning differences between boys and girls and how it's also increasing. But it takes into consideration a factor how maybe the teacher's gender is influencing the learning gaps between the students. So I'm going to talk about first about the gender gap article. And this article talked about how there's evidence from research that demonstrates that boys are not doing as well. And they're getting this information from dropout and graduation rates, as well as grades and test scores. They're showing how boys are just not performing as well as girls are. And this is across the subject levels, not just science and math or reading. This article talked about how boys are just not doing as well on all subjects, and also that males that go to college have lower graduation rates than females. This is a graph that I included that's titled Lost Boys, and this just demonstrates the percentage of high school dropouts among 16 to 24-year-olds. And it talks about how the dropout rate is higher for minorities. As you can see, the turquoise lines are the Hispanic culture, the yellow are the African, and the orange at the bottom are the white culture. And the solid lines are the males, and the dotted lines are the females. But as you can see, the Hispanic culture has the higher dropout rates, but among all of those three races, the males are the ones that have the most dropout rates. More information. There's more evidence from the article. Nationally, 58% of students earning a bachelor's degree are males, compared to the 62% that are females. And males that go to college have lower graduation rates than females. So they're going to college, they're just not finishing their studies. And then I thought this was really interesting. Women outpace men in earning a bachelor's, master's, and the PhD. But when it comes to earning a law and medical degree, they're not earning them as quickly as boys are. And I thought that was just kind of interesting, since the article talked about how females are doing well academically. And also towards the end of the article, it talked about how the schools can really help out with closing the gender gaps in the classrooms. These are three of the different points or strategies that they mentioned. It talked about how effective schools set those high standards in their schools and in the classroom. So it's not just in the classroom, but it's also in the entire school. Those high expectations are really demonstrated, and the students understand what's expected of them. Also, parent involvement is high. Getting parents to be involved as much as they can is really going to help out with their students' academics, especially if they're struggling in a certain content area. Parents can really help out at home as well. And also, schools and classroom provide discipline to create that engaging and respectful environment. And this is something that also, I really, really, truly believe. I really believe in creating that nurturing environment, so that students feel safe and they can really learn and apply their learning. The second article is called The Y Chromosome, and I'm going to be talking about that one. The three main ideas are: boys are increasingly less likely than girls to attend college and receive a bachelor's degree. And in response to the gender gap patterns, there has been a push for single-sex education. So that's kind of like one of their solutions to decrease the gap between boys and girls. And also, the gender gap could be correlated to what occurs in schools and in the classrooms as well. The National Institute for Single-Sex Public Education report that in 2006, at least 232 public schools in the U.S. were offering gender-separate educational opportunities compared to only 4 schools in 1998. So the article talked about, again, how there's differences, learning differences between boys and girls as they're getting older. So in order to find a solution or to close those learning gaps, they're really thinking about incorporating single-sex public education. And then it talked about how most of the schools are co-educational schools, so both boys and girls can go to those schools, but they have classrooms where they only teach boys or they only teach girls. And 44 of those, of all of the classrooms, were completely just single-sex classrooms. According to the Department of Education Early Childhood longitudinal study, when the students are enter kindergarten, both boys and girls are have similar academic levels on both reading and math. But the same students, by the time they get to 3rd grade in the spring, the boys outperform girls in math and science, while the girls outperformed boys in reading. So there's obviously something going on that's affecting the students with boys in their literacy skills, and also with girls in their math and science skills as well. But this article got information that the boys are outperforming the girls, versus in the other article, it talked about how the girls are outperforming the boys across all content subjects. The article also mentioned some theories for gender gaps. This is just some of the what they believe might have caused some of the gender gaps or have an influence. The teacher gender does matter because the gender shapes the communication between teacher and the pupil. So having, for example, a male teacher could not be as successful as for a girl as having a female teacher, is what the article kind of mentioned. And another theory suggests that students are more engaged and behave more appropriately and perform at a higher level when taught by someone who's the same gender. And when I was reading this article, I was thinking about a situation when I taught 2nd grade in Kansas City. I had a parent talk to me about how her little girl really loved being in my classroom, and how she liked having a female teacher, because when she was in 1st grade, she had a male teacher, and she was just so scared of him, and because of his voice, and he's a bigger guy, so that probably didn't help either. But that was just very interesting when I was reading this, that how students perform well when they have the same gender. Although I do also feel that that boys are also going to perform well if they have a female teacher as well. This is how these articles affected me, and kind of what some of the goals that I had after reading these articles. It definitely motivated me to help students be solid readers in 2nd grade, since I teach 2nd grade, especially my boys. Really help them learn those reading skills and be able to apply them independently, so they can go to 3rd grade being solid readers and not fall behind. Also, something else that a goal of mine is to learn as much as I can from my courses, especially my reading courses. Try to get as many strategies that I can for my students, especially for my male students. Also, just being a great leader and a great role model for my students. I think if I set up that safe classroom environment, my students are going to be successful. And also the most important, I think, is emphasize the importance of reading. I think students really need to understand that reading is important, and it helps them in their life, especially as they get older. So I need to really model reading and emphasize the importance of reading so that my students can learn to be great readers. Thanks.